different moments at times when people realized that the end was coming. There was this steady building of unrest that first it seemed very manageable. In fact, it seemed, as part of your father's policies, to allow people to speak and protest. It almost seemed to be something that was planned. For you, what was the moment that you realized your life was about to change?
Well, it happened, everything happened really fast. When I left Iran in the summer of 1978, which is about 6 months before my father left Iran for the last time, at that time, I did not experience or witness the level of protests and anti-Shah slogans that my siblings got to hear at night from the windows of the palace in northern Tehran, where they could hear the crowd on the streets chanting that. So in a matter of months, everything happened really fast. So it's not like we were anticipating. There was difficulties, there was some crisis, but it was not like the way it ended and it happened. But I think the hysteria was very much driven by the core radical religious beliefs that we had. And if you look at ever since the revolution in Iran, that aspect of radicalized Islam that happened with the Khomeini revolution, and we saw it manifest itself in different forms, from the Taliban to ISIS to a lot of what we face today. A lot of that was institutionalized in part of what split society between modernity and the religious beliefs. So you had that aspect that was very much the root cause, or I think that frenzy, which you cannot fight. I mean, fighting a religious ideology is almost impossible. Even though my grandfather and my father tried their best to, attenuate that, but the sentiments at the time were very much driven by that. Interestingly enough, the left, the Marxist left, had their own agenda in terms of being anti-Western, anti-this and all that, and they somehow happened to be in the same boat with the Islamists. But the left was much more arguing about the progressive aspects of things, the liberalizing aspect of things. I'm talking about the social democrats, not necessarily the Marxists, because their agenda was quite clear. But at the end, it was really the religious part that prevailed. And that's not something you can easily fight, because it was sacrilegious to even say something negative about the faith. Today is completely different. But we had to experience all of that to be where we are today. At the time, it was almost impossible. So was it almost futile to resist? I think a lot of that goes back to the question you asked me earlier, or at least has been brought up many times, of if you were in my father's shoes, would you try to resist and then go down in history as somebody who tried to cling on to power by having to turn the guns on their own society, assuming that it would have changed things? Or was it doomed anyway, but instead he would be known in history as somebody who had blood of the people on his hands? So I think that's really something that, can you say it's avoidable or not? At the time, it seemed to be almost too late to do anything, because that was the frenzy, was really hysteria. When you had college professors, teachers, who would say that they actually saw Khomeini's face in the moon. That's a so-called intellectual saying this. It's not an uneducated peasant saying something like that. Educated people were saying that. How can you rationalize with that kind of, fervor or frenzy? You can't fight that. When people are willing to see that they actually saw somebody's face in the moon, what are you going to do? That's what we faced. That's really what we faced at the time.